The night joggers were out as usual. The young man could see dim figures on the track even in this pale light, slowly pounding round and round on the most infinite of footpaths. There would be, he knew, plump, determined-looking women slogging along while fleshy knees quivered. They would occasionally brush damp hair fiercely from their eyes and dream of certain cruel and smiling MCs, bikinis, tennis with white-toothed males, wild tangos in the moonlight, and men too of various ages and levels of dilapidation, perhaps also grinding out secret fantasies. Did they picture themselves a Peter Snell, held back only by fat or fear as they turned their 90-second quarters? He picked up his small travel bag and went in the gate, walking clockwise on the track towards the white starting post at the end of the first turn. The joggers ignored the stranger in street clothes, and he likewise paid them not the slightest attention. They would always be there. In lane 1 he stood very still, looking down at his street shoes, joggers now going around him with curious glances, and tried to conjure up the feeling. After a moment, a trace of it came to him, and he knew that was all there would be. You can remember it, he told himself, but you cannot experience it again this way. You have to be satisfied with the shadows. Then he thought of the second and third laps and decided with a little twist of a smile that shadows were sometimes quite enough. Once a Runner by John L. Parker, Jr. Today's podcast is about something almost everyone in existence has done at one point. Some do it for pleasure, some out of fear, and some do it just because they felt like they needed to do it in order to process the pain at losing the person they loved the most. We're talking about running, and today, on the Do It or Else podcast, we discuss our first challenge of running 10 miles.
Do you buy your thumb medicine?
Is that a challenge?
Do you buy your thumb medicine?
Fun, let's have a juke.
Challenge accepted.
If you wanna come over, do you wanna go ride? If you wanna come over, do you wanna go ride? If you wanna come over, do you wanna go ride?
Hey, welcome to the Do It or Else podcast. This is a weekly challenge podcast where we push ourselves out of our comfort zones and try something new and then report back to you all with our experiences. I'm Dustin.
And I'm Ryan.
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Hey, champ. I'm good, bud. How you doing?
Good. This podcast is just two friends that want to stay in touch despite all the miles between us, you know? It's a new take on a Disney love story, I think.
Yeah, that's one way to think of it. Can I be... Who's my favorite prince? I'm going to go with Aladdin. Does he count as a prince?
He became a prince, so yeah, I think that's a good underdog story. If we're two princes, I would like to be the fox from The Fox and the Hound. Does that count?
Good choice. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think he's a prince, but I'll count it.
He's a prince of the animal kingdom.
All right. I'm not going to fight you on that.
Okay. Well, save that. Save that for a later challenge. Yeah. But this challenge, this episode 1, we decided to run 10 miles.
10 freaking miles.
Did you ever think you'd run 10 miles again in one helping?
Well, I'm sure we'll get into this, but I guess I always imagined I would, but it was so much harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I expected it to be, but it was so much harder. But we'll get into it, right?
We certainly will. And if you didn't know, Ryan, and all you listeners out there, you lovely listeners, you're just so cute. I just want to put you in my pocket and carry you around with me all day. I'm going to tell you a little bit about running, okay?
Okay.
If you didn't know, it's one of the most popular sports in athletics today.
Didn't know that. I thought it was football.
Well, let's think about the world. Get out of America, Ryan.
Okay.
Take your MAGA hat off and just look around for once, if you don't mind. It's one of the oldest sports.
Of course, Trump had to get into our first episode.
He's the challenge.
Oh God, he is. All right, so it's enough about that. It's the oldest. It's the oldest sport in the world. You're saying older than soccer, older than lacrosse.
Apparently, I think they would. All right, I'll get into it though. The ancient Olympic Games, one of the first recorded games, back in 776 BC. A cook from the city of Elis won the Stadion race That's an approximate distance of 600 feet. His name was Koroibos? Koroibos?
Koroibos.
Yeah, Koroibos, I think is how you pronounce it. But yeah, he was a cook, and he's jacked. He's a jacked cook, running food from table to table, builds up those legs.
600, but it was a race of 600 feet.
600 feet.
We should have done a
approximately.
600-foot challenge.
That would have been
a
a
lot.
a lot easier for episode 1, I think.
Yeah, maybe in the future we'll do a race of 600 feet. A stadium? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, with an N. Nancy. N is in Nancy at the end, so stadion.
Stadion.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
according...
we'll race.
We will. According to some historians, this was the only event for the first 13 Olympic festivals. And it's generally believed... Yeah. And it's believed that the games had been going on for many years before that. But, basically history is saying 1776 is like the games back when it started in Olympia. And then for 12 centuries...
So there's no wrestling going on? There's no shot put?
There was.
It's just this 600-foot race?
That came later.
Okay.
That's a great segue, Ryan. Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so these games, they're held during every 4 years in honor of Zeus. And after those first 13 races, or 13 Olympics, whereas basically foot races, they added 2 more foot races. They added the Diaulos, which is a 400-meter race, and the Dolichos, which is either a 1,500 or 5,000-meter event.
So they go from a 600-foot race, which is basically, what would you say that is? Is that I'm bad at math here.
It's like 200 meters.
200
almost.
meters. Then they go to a 400 meters, which is basically a whole lap of a track now.
That's right.
And then they switch. The next race was a mile.
Yeah, they're
essentially.
like, you guys got to run farther. We got to sell more concessions. We got to take more bets, like whatever is going on in the stands.
Yeah.
Got to give the people more. They always want
okay.
more. They always want more. You say you gimme. I want to take, and then I say, what else you got? That's
know.
what. Yeah, exactly, because they're in Rome, and they're like, hey, what you got more tomato sauce in that platter for my spaghetti? Okay, put it more on there. I see it in there. Give me more.
Wait, this is in Rome? I thought this was in Greece.
Yeah, I'm sorry for all the Romans out there for or for the Greeks.
This is in
I'm
Italy.
sorry. No.
But do you not? Hey, buddy.
They catered.
Do you not know
They
the
catered.
different peninsulas in the Mediterranean?
No.
Okay, we'll cover that later, I guess.
Okay, a
little
geography challenge.
lesson.
I think so. Moving on from my ignorance, the pentathlon was next, and that was the foot race. We added a long jump, we added the discus, we added the javelin throw, and then wrestling. So that was introduced in 708 BC, about
1,000
70
years later.
No, 70 years.
I'm a bad listener.
776, which is weird because you got to go backwards in time.
Yeah, I can't do it.
And then 708, even though it's a less number.
I thought it was 1776.
No, that's
okay.
Alexander Hamilton, 1776.
I'm not throwing away my shot.
Yeah, that's exactly right, dude.
Yeah. I nailed it.
But
I haven't seen it. Have you seen it? Have you seen Hamilton?
Yeah, we saw it for $40 on Broadway. We showed up at the last minute, and we basically were talking to a nice cop, and he was like, I can't speak for the house. I only work here, but I do know that sometimes they give away cheap seats if you just hang around here at the end. I can't say. My wife Casey, she had her phone out about to pull the trigger on some online tickets that were expensive, and he's like, I can't speak for these wholesalers online, but I can't really speak for the theater. But if you stay here, you could get some cheap tickets. We got them for $40, but it was standing room only, which was pretty cool though. So we got to stand up and
How
see
long
over.
is the show?
Oh, it's probably like 3 hours.
And you're just standing in the back.
Standing in the back, I've got a nice bar top basically separating us from the seats, so we could put our drinks on this like little table. So it was great.
Wow, man! And what did you think? Did you
I
love
love
it
it,
or did you
dude.
hate it?
I still listen to the soundtrack. It pumps you up. Certain songs just get you pumped.
Wow, man, that's
yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. And did you know Alexander Hamilton was a fan of the Olympics? He was. So
Really?
Yeah, he was like the biggest fan. He almost competed in the Olympics, but he was too busy writing the Federalist Papers. So,
What would he have competed in the Olympics? Like equestrian,
chariot racing,
dueling.
Yeah,
We know he was bad at that.
with javelin.
Javelin.
He would have done javelin dueling.
All right.
Yeah. So,
All right. Back to it.
let's get back to the edutainment, Ryan. Did you know that the participation of the Olympic Games was limited to only freeborn male citizens of Greece?
That sounds like like the Greeks at the time.
Yeah. No women's events, and married women were not allowed to attend the competition.
Not even wait. So single girls could show up.
Apparently. That's what my research tells me.
What? Okay.
Yeah. But so the Olympics go on, and then we all have heard of, maybe you haven't, but the Emperor Nero, a very notorious emperor, very decadent. In AD 67, he entered into the Olympic chariot race and fell off of his chariot and still declared himself the winner.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I've never heard it. Like Kim, he's like Kim Jong Un.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He hit a hole in one on every hole, or he.
Yeah. He shot what, 44 under par or something like that.
Good for Nero.
I don't know what that math equals out. But then in AD 393, the Olympics got a pagan bent to him. The Christian Emperor Theodosius said it was a pagan festival and ended the Olympic tradition, and it wasn't brought back for almost 1,500 years. That's when the great Baron Pierre de Coubertin, I think I said that right, Coubertin? Pierre de Coubertin of France brought it back in 1892 and established the modern Olympic Games that we kind of know and love today.
Well, now I appreciate this Olympic history, but in the Olympics, do they race a 10-mile foot race?
I don't know if they have a 10-mile. They got a 10K, right?
Which is 6.2 miles, right?
6.2 miles, yeah.
And then they run the marathon.
Mm-hmm. 26.2 miles, yep.
But did they do the race that we ran?
No. No one's ever done the race. No one's
ever done this.
That's
no
right.
one's ever done this. We're the first to run 10 miles.
So novel, these Renaissance men of 2019.
Yeah.
I ran 10 miles today.
Ooh, how lovely.
Well, I think this is a pretty good time to talk about that experience, our little race with ourselves. We challenged ourselves. I think I put the challenge out there to do the 10 miles, and we just both were like, yeah, it just kind of happened.
Here, I'll go first.
But it was like, what was it about 10?
10 is a number that a normal person who is our age, older, right? In their 30s.
Let everyone know how old you are.
I'm 32 years old.
Yeah, dude.
How old are you?
I'm 32.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So a normal person our age, I feel like 10 miles is a lot, unless you're a distance runner, right? Unless you're training for marathons. 10 miles is really out of reach. I feel like 6 is probably where I top out ever. How about you? How far do you run these days?
When I run, I'd say maybe like 5 miles. I ride my bike a lot, so I don't know if that really transfers. I felt like that didn't help me at all for this run.
I do a good amount of swimming and bike riding as well. You wouldn't know it by looking at me. Like I'm a chubby boy, but I do a good amount of like cardio exercising. But 10 miles in the summer in Georgia was a whole other kind of beast. So just a little bit of history. Dustin, you and I know each other growing up. We played sports together growing up. We were friends. We made movies, those kind of little childish things. But in high school, we both ran on the cross-country team.
Running. Yep.
Running. And we were both, at various times, fast runners, good runners. High school cross-country teams race a 5K, so 3.1 miles. But we would practice routinely every, 2-3 times a week. We'd be running more than 6 or 7 miles in a day, right?
Yeah.
Occasionally up to 13 miles, I think, on our longest runs back then.
Crazy, yeah.
And also, during the warm summer months and early fall in Georgia, you went on to be a much better runner, but I think we'll get to that in a little bit. I got hurt in high school and never really, to be honest, lived up to my full potential. I don't think. But I think our running history goes further back than that. Do you remember the middle school, I guess it's field day?
Yes. Wildcat days
at Northwestern Middle School. Both me and Dustin are there. We're running the cross-country event. And this event, I don't know how many miles it was. It was probably a 2-mile race.
It might have been 2.
Yeah, it might have been
Just
a 2-mile race. But, I think we were in 8th grade. Is that right?
I think 7th and 8th grade was when we started doing the distance races that I remember we were both at the starting line for.
Right. So we're both there at the starting line. We run around the school, and we finished back on the main track and field where all of our classmates are sitting in the stands, right? Do you remember this moment?
I remember this moment. I remember, yep, all the hot teachers were there watching us, cheering us on.
All the pretty girls, all the handsome boys, and we're running down the hill. And I don't know if you know this because you weren't winning the race at that moment. I was winning the race.
You were winning the race in front of Danny Haas.
And not Danny Haas. I think it was Drew Clipp. If we want to share middle school names, it may not be. You might be right. I really don't know. But we're running down the hill onto the track, and since I'm in first and dumb, I don't know that I'm supposed to run around the track to finish. I thought I was supposed to run through the field and just sort of finish in front of everybody. Yeah. I don't really know what my childhood brain was thinking. So I run through the field, and I just remember thousands of people yelling at me, "Go back, go back. You're going the wrong way."
You have your arms up in the V for victory. You got your peace signs up.
I've won the race. I'm the hero. I won it for, the purple team or whatever. I'm psyched. I got my arms up. Got to run back, run around the track. In this time, whoever is in between you and I catches up to me, right?
Yeah,
and you're not far
yards.
behind.
Yeah, you guys are like 30 yards about.
Right. So then he gets up on my hip. So we're sprinting towards the finish, and our legs get tied up in one another. And I'm gonna say 10 yards from the finish line, directly in front of the stands, right next to every girl I ever wanted to kiss. I just ate it. Ate the track, knees, elbows, chin, all covered in blood.
And you're fucking tired, too.
I was beat. It was terrible. The guy who wins the race, Drew Clipp, I think, you think Danny Haas, runs past me, wins the race, and then who else runs past me?
I do.
Dustin Graham runs past me. Then I get up and shuffle into third place.
Yeah.
So that's where our running careers, I feel like, started.
Yeah. I would say it started way back in soccer, honestly. That's true. That's the first time, ever running for an hour and a half. Maybe an hour, because maybe they did 30-minute halves back then. But I always ran hard and fast as a kid. I loved the Sonic the Hedgehog video game, so I always thought I could be Sonic if I just ran fast enough. I'm faster than it. Yeah, I could turn up into a ball, charge up, and then, zip out across the road. But I kind of fell into running because my parents told me to join cross country. I think, did your sister Amanda start, and then you were like, I'll do that too? Or why did you join the cross country team?
even before Amanda, my brother was a runner.
That's right. Yeah.
My
He
brother
did
was a runner.
The Ooga Booga.
Right, the Ooga Booga, which is a chant our cross-country team would do before races. It was just incredible. But my brother actually was a slightly better cross-country runner than me. I remember looking at the times, and I'll share this now, my 5K time from high school. I ran a 17:42 as a sophomore, if I can relive my glory days. My brother ran a 17:40 in high school.
Oh.
How fast did you get in high school?
Oh, at my fastest, my senior year, I did 16:30.
Ooh, that's amazing. That's so fast.
I can't believe I ever did that.
And I think the thing people don't know about cross country is at a 16:30, so 3.1 miles in 16:30, you're running roughly 5-minute miles, a little bit slower, but that 0.1 really matters. You didn't win the race, I imagine, at 16:30, did you?
No, dude. The kids that were winning were like running in the 15:30s.
Yeah, you probably got in the top 20,
Yeah.
but probably not the top 10 even. Yeah,
No.
that's what's so incredible about that sport is that the high end, the really good runners are in a class all by themselves. But that time you got is actually pretty elite, I think, for high school. And you went on to run in college.
Yeah, I ran in college for 2 years for a small school.
For Reinhardt, right? You
Reinhardt
didn't run for
College.
UGA?
No, I got into ultimate frisbee, bro, at UGA.
Oh,
Man.
okay.
We went to
I
nationals
see.
all 3 years, so it's no big deal.
Okay. So, but you ran a college cross country, which is a 10K.
Yeah.
So I imagine for the training for that sport,
We would do 8Ks and 10Ks. It just depended
wow.
on the race. So it would be like one race would be an 8K, another one would be a 10K, but it was either 8 or 10.
So did you get more experience running longer distances because your races were longer in training? Were you running 15 miles, like that sort of thing?
Sometimes, yeah. I hated those days.
Do you know the longest you ever ran?
Those were those were the longest durations of just jogging, like running with intention, and with a group of folks. I ran track in high school too, and I felt like I was a better track runner, like in the 400 and the 800. I felt like I did really well for being a little white guy, especially in the 400. I broke 50 seconds on the 400, and I think I ran like a 49.5, something like that in the 400, right. And I think a 158 in the 800, but that was on a relay, so it could have been faster, it could have been slower, depending on how you judge a relay split. But I felt like I was pretty good at the shorter sprinting distances. But I struggled with long runs, like really long runs. I hated those.
So I think this is a good time to talk about our experience in our personal runs. I chose to run my run, and the challenge was run 10 miles. There was no, and I think I failed. I got to be honest with you.
You failed?
Well, I covered 10 miles at once. But if the challenge was to run those 10 miles, I failed. I could not keep running for 10 miles.
So you moved 10 miles.
I moved 10 miles from door to door on foot, but I walked a lot, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my total distance here, I've got it in front of me, is 10.1 miles, with an average pace of 13:30. And I think my total time. Oh, look at that! My total time was 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Awesome.
So my time, not incredible, not terrible. My run was up and down the Beltline, around Piedmont Park, but dude, I felt good to start, but by mile 7, I thought I was going to die. My lungs were fine. My brain kind of felt like it was going to pop out of my head. But my legs, dude, couldn't handle it anymore.
I had a similar experience around mile 7, mile 8. Yeah.
So tell me about your run. I imagine, in my mind, you ran the whole thing.
Sort of. I I'll tell you a little bit about it. But I did have to take a break to cool down just because it was so hot.
Like you came home?
No. So I started out my 10-mile run from my house, and I warmed
In
up
Athens.
I live in Athens.
Atlanta, yeah.
I live in Athens, Georgia, and I started off my run by walking up this steep hill that's like right outside my house, and that's on the way to the track. So once I got to the top of the hill, I warmed up and ran to the track. That's about a mile and a quarter to the track. And then I just basically rolled into the track, and I ran without a phone because I don't run with a phone. I don't like having things in my hands. I like to be as minimal as possible. I don't like, stuff bouncing around in my pockets or stuff like that. I want to be comfortable. Man,
it's terrible.
Yeah,
it's terrible running with a phone.
Yeah. Did you have it on your arm or did you hold it in your hand?
There is a pocket in my running shorts that holds it kind of tight to my leg, which
Gotcha.
is okay.
It's manageable. But I don't like that. That like drives me nuts. I hate that. And I sweat like crazy, so I wouldn't want to sweat all over my phone or something. I don't know.
They're waterproof now.
They do have those waterproof phones. Can you believe that?
Wait, so you ran 10 miles on a track?
I ran 8 miles, and I broke it up into 2 4-mile sets at the track. So I got there, and there were it looked like a bunch of middle school and high school kids doing like summer training. So I'm running around them while all these kids are like running hard. Some have parachutes on. Some are doing hurdles. It's pretty cool, and it like pumped me up.
Since when do kids start wearing parachutes? Was that happening when we were in high school?
No, it's specialized sports and like overparenting, overachieving parents.
You see these beasts on like the trails, man. These guys with these like weight vests on and masks over there, like Darth Vader masks.
There was a guy running with a weight vest at the track.
Do you know these masks I'm talking about though?
They decrease your O2 input. Like it makes your lungs put like more tension on your lungs to pull air through this mask. So it's like strengthening
like you're running
your
in
lungs.
Denver or something.
No, it makes it harder to suck air through. So It doesn't like decrease the amount of oxygen that's in the air. It just makes it harder to pull air through. So you're like like really pull,
why not just stick a straw in your mouth and breathe through that?
Yeah. But diaphragm training, if you want to think of it like that. But anyways,
okay.
I mean, these kids were like in maybe 5th or 6th grade with parachutes on, and track spikes, and doing 50-yard sprints. So like I got kind of pumped up, and I think I started running maybe a little faster than I should have. But it's uncomfortable for me to run too slow. Like I feel like I have to run on my toes, leaning forward, try and maintain proper form always. And when I do that, I tend to I just naturally run a little quick. My turnover is a little quick. So I felt
know how fast you were running?
No idea.
No clue.
Only with the sun going down. So like I started, it was probably around 88 degrees, I guess, when I left and the sun was going down. And then, by the time I finished, the sun was all the way down. It was dark. So the second half was pretty trippy with a beautiful sunset. But
that's great. I can't believe you did this on a track. That's so far to run on a track.
I know.
8 miles on a track and 2 there, like 1 there and 1 back.
So I was about, I think 10.5 miles total.
Okay.
But I did have to take a break. I started off that day I played in a golf tournament. So I was out in the sun.
No.
Yeah, I was out in the sun all day for work. And here's what I ate. I ate 2 Chick-fil-A sandwiches. I drank 2 Cokes. I had 1 beer, which was a Terrapin Hopsecutioner. I had 4 waters and a bag of Doritos, some Rice Krispie treats, fun-sized Skittles, fun-sized Starburst, 3 quesadillas, chips and salsa, and 3 hot chicken wings.
Oh my God, dude! So I feel like you're bragging right now.
I am telling you how dumb I am.
You think you're saying how dumb you are, but what you're actually doing is bragging that you can eat total garbage and still manage to get 10 miles under your feet in one day.
That's the only reason
And
I
honestly,
chose to do
Dustin-
the run. That's the only reason I chose to do the run. Is just like, you are a piece of shit. You have to burn all this off. Like, but I could feel it moving as soon as I started running. It felt like I had like 8 pounds just hanging out of my belly button, bouncing up and down, and it felt so uncomfortable. Like, I didn't feel good at all. As soon as I started, I was like, why the fuck am I doing this right now? Yeah, it was just gross. And
Did you throw up?
I didn't throw up. I thought I was going to. I thought I was going to pass out. I thought I was going to die at multiple points throughout the run. But it was just crazy. So like after that first 4-mile set, yeah, I had to cool down. I went to the bathroom. I put like a wet paper towel around my neck, drank water, that kind of thing. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and I have this huge heat rash all over my body. Like just from being out in the sun all day, I looked up like sports induced heat rash, and it's been
right.
Like
I've had that the little red
terrible.
bumps. Do you still have it? Do you still have it today?
A little bit, a little ghost of it, like all over my chest and on my arms. But so that was gross. And I did that little break, and like it was so hard to start up again, to stop running, and then to be like, all right, another 4 miles.
Yeah, man. Let me tell you about it. Like me stopping every quarter mile and then trying to convince myself to run again. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it just wasn't possible to maintain.
No, I don't think so. Not for us.
No,
not right now. I'd like ideally to try this challenge again in the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe get some training actually running again, and see if and maybe I'd like you ideally to track it and see how fast it went. So tell me about the end of your run, the second half.
Well, the second half of the run, like I literally thought once I started up again, I felt I could feel my knees. You know, how often do you feel your knees? But I could feel like the entire anatomy, like top, bottom, left, right portion of my knees, and like every impact. It was almost like all of my legs went numb except for my knees. And then I was like, oh my God, my legs are going to lock up right now, and I'm going to get cramps. I'm going to fall over. And that was like in the middle of the 5th mile. And, you know, my mind starts to wander. Like you go into like a hypnosis, like into a trance almost, like a meditative state or something. I started thinking about like, man, I'm going to die on this track. How ironic would it be that I died on the track because we were going to do a podcast and it's never going to get recorded. Like I thought about
this challenge the first challenge was going to be the end of you.
Yes. I thought like, dude, you're going to drop down dead. You're like, young people have heart attacks all the time, and you just did it to yourself for a fucking podcast. Good job. And this is a real question of your personality. Why wouldn't you just walk some? I don't know.
Why wouldn't you stop running a little bit?
The challenge was to run 10 miles. So it was like, I would slow down. I would, like self-assess my foot strike and, my breathing, and like, okay, is your form shitty or is your form bad? You know, and then try and tighten that up and, you know, focus on the process, the technique of running. Like, okay, make sure your knees are moving forward, you know, like just like the little things to take your mind away from how fucking miserable you are, and you're doing it by yourself. And like I started thinking about the past and like running with cross country, running with you, and like suffering through cross country and those practices. And I thought of like our friendship all throughout high school, and how like when we got to college we like drifted apart, and how sad that was, and how happy I am that we're like doing this, and this is an opportunity for us to reconnect in another way and get to know each other as adults. You know, I started thinking about like all these deep things. I started thinking about like, why are we doing this podcast? Is it because I'm 32 and I haven't accomplished anything in my entire life? Why am I still here on the 7th mile, almost dying? And then I got like a little runner's high after the 7th mile, just like a little one, because my body knew it was getting close to the end. And once I finished that last mile on the track, like I felt myself running faster on that last lap. And then I'm like, no, you're an idiot. You have another mile to go because you have to run home. And it was just like, oh gosh, it was such a head game. It was so tough just to think about it and track. Okay, this is your fourth lap. You haven't finished it. You're starting your fourth lap. That's the end to 1 mile. Like having to constantly have a tally in my head, which I might have run more. Like I might have miscounted.
You don't know. Wow, man.
I don't know.
That's a lot. You just put a lot out there.
Mm.
And then
it was bad.
You finished the race or the run.
Yeah.
You ran home.
Yeah.
What'd you do? Did you take a shower and eat something and go to bed?
Oh yeah, I immediately went to the shower. My body's covered in this red rash. Take a ice cold shower, and like the soap burns the rash. It just hurts to take this shower, but I need to get it done. I take Benadryl because I looked up online to how to alleviate symptoms. Like, dude, like yeah. And
so that must have knocked you out.
Yeah, so I took some Benadryl. I ate some leftover lasagna. I drank a shit ton of water, and then I just like laid down and slept so good. And I had this crazy dream, which I think was just because of my hurt legs. I dreamed we were playing airsoft. Do you remember airsoft guns?
Yeah, I've never played, but I know it.
You heard of it, okay?
The little rubber pellets or
so I had a dream where we're playing airsoft with friends, and someone brought a real gun, and I got shot in the leg. And no, this is no bullshit. And I remember like crying to my friend Adam Mabry, who was in the Army, and like we have worked together. And I was like, Adam, my fucking leg, man, I don't want to limp. I don't want to live with a limp for the rest of my life, dude. And it was just so strange. And I'm sure my legs must have been doing something like in the middle of the night trying to repair itself.
Right, well, and it's also the Benadryl.
That too, giving me wacky dreams, yeah.
Yeah, man. Benadryl, if I want to do some creative work by myself and I'm having a blockage, I don't know if this is healthy or not. It's probably not, and maybe some doctors who listen can let me know. But I'll take a little Benadryl pill. I'll get a little weird. Some guys will get stoned, but that's cool too. But you can get a little distracted when you're stoned. I find if you can stay awake on a Benadryl pill, I'm not doing this all the time. I feel like I'm maybe outing myself here, but I don't know, man. You can get some creative, weird thoughts coming out of you. Highly recommend it.
Okay, recommended by Ryan. Dustin says, maybe think about it. Consult your doctor before you take a Benadryl. See how you react to.
It's an over-the-counter drug. It's probably fine. I don't know.
I know some parents give their kids Benadryl to put them to sleep, so whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe take one.
What could go wrong?
Next time you think about wanting to get drunk or stoned or high, maybe just take a little Benadryl. See how that goes.
Yeah, you're going out for a night on the town. Yeah. Take 50 milligrams of Benadryl and just let that dice ride.
Take that little pink pill. Let me know how you feel.
Give me that Benny.
All right. Let's move on to the review. You ready?
Oh, yeah.
Each week on our show, we will review the challenge.
Rate the challenge.
Rate the challenge. Do it or else. Rate the challenge.
Rank
this week.
Rake?
Yeah, rake the challenge. This week, rate it. Rate it. Let us know how you thought it went. And ideally, in the future, we'll have the challenge at the end of the episode. We'd like our listeners to do it along with us and rate the challenge themselves. See what they thought of it. This week, run 10 miles. We did it, so there is nowhere else. But runners, distance runners especially, of our age, idolize one man who they made 2 movies about, basically at the same time.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Mr. Steve Prefontaine.
Oh, Prefontaine.
The, what was it, Oregon? The Oregon runner?
Mm-hmm.
With the beautiful blonde mustache.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the first generation of Nikes.
Yeah, flowing hair, got that feathered look. Just majestic, magnificent.
Magnificent runner who
portrayed
ran for the love of it.
Yeah, ran for the love of it. Portrayed by Jared Leto and Billy Crudup. Were those the two?
I think you're right. Was it really Jared Leto?
I think he did one. We're not going to look it up, but I'm confident that it's
Yeah, no,
Jared
we're not
Leto
looking it up.
and Billy Crudup.
Yeah, highly recommend. I think the Prefontaine movies. I think I have one of them on the shelf in the other room. I'll have to go look at it later. But this week, the rating scale is Prefontaines.
Woo!
So on a scale of 1 to, well, since it was 10 miles, let's say 10 Prefontaines.
That's genius. Oh my
Right?
God. Give this boy a Nobel Prize. Oh God.
1 Prefontaines. I rate running 10 miles. This is hard because I didn't fully enjoy it. I didn't hate it. I thought running 10 miles was fun. I liked bragging about it on Instagram. I like bragging about it on this podcast. And that's kind of shitty, though, isn't it?
You gave it a 1?
No.
Out of 10?
No, I haven't rated it yet.
Oh, good. All right. But you can, if you have a mixed feeling, like
All
if you
right.
need to, it's okay to be conflicted about running because I think, it was enjoyable. Like it's something that sucks while you're doing it, but it's great to talk about and like you're glad you did it at the end of it.
That's exactly right.
When it's just a memory, it's awesome, but when you're doing it, you're like, fuck this, dude.
So I enjoyed it the whole next day. I swear to you, I was dumber. My brain didn't work as well. The day I did I did it in the morning that whole day, very stupid. And honestly, yesterday was the day after, incredibly stupid all day. Just not a good thinker. Which isn't bad. It's not bad to be dumbed down a little bit, to have your mind depleted of its resources. So you don't really have to think so much. And because of that, I'm going to give running 10 miles 6.5 Prefontaines.
That's pretty good.
What'd you think?
It's pretty good. I got to go 7 Prefontaines, just a little bit more. I just think it's an above average challenge, so it gets an above average score. It's an above average experience from the doing of it. It sucked, but the benefit and the payoff. Not only does it make you healthier cardio wise, you burned 1,800 calories, Ryan.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah.
So like you're doing short-term damage to your body for like a long-term gain, I guess.
That's true. I feel pretty good today. 2 days removed from it, I feel pretty great.
Yeah, I feel good. It's still kind of, I feel it when I go downstairs. But other than that, like I feel good. I give it 7 Prefontaines because
Good rating.
Despite the chafing grundle, the sore legs, and the heat rash that I got, it just is like, dude, the human body is so gross, but it's incredible. Like if you put your mind to something, we can push ourselves to move for 10 miles. And maybe anybody can push themselves to move for 10 miles. Maybe they run 5 and they walk 5. You're still moving 10 miles, and covering 10 miles on foot doesn't happen every day,
Right. And the science of it, health-wise, it doesn't matter if you run it or walk it. The cardiovascular benefits, I'm pretty sure the research at this time is showing if you run or walk it, it doesn't make a difference. Covering the distance is what matters.
Yes. The only difference would be that your ability to burn fat faster is,
but I'm talking like
higher.
heart health.
Yeah, heart health. Just move, get out and move for a long time every day, and you're going to see long-term benefits down the road with, a lower risk of heart disease and stronger muscles, naked, sexy body, all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
You give it 7.
I give it 7.
Would you challenge our listeners to? Would you recommend this challenge?
Listeners, I challenge you to run 10 miles, parentheses, just move 10 miles, in parentheses. Do it.
Do it.
You'll be happy about it. If you can't take this brutal heat, if you got a gym, try it on a treadmill, but I hate running on a treadmill. I just hate the sound of the tread, just like zzz, zzz, zzz,
It's the
with
worst.
every step. I'd hate that. So get outside.
Maybe an elliptical. I don't know. I
Get
haven't
some
tried those
vitamin
yet.
D. Get out of here. You got to like move around. I think you need to be distracted by the stuff that's around you, which is why I like running outside, because you see things and you see other people, and like seeing another person run either in front of you, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna catch that person. That's stupid of me to think, but like I always find someone, and I in my mind I'm like, I'm gonna track you down and I'm gonna beat you, even though we have no idea that we're racing. Only I do. That's a problem with me. So I picked the 10-mile race, and I think we both enjoyed it. And now we get to turn the reins over to Mr. Ryan to lay out the next challenge that I have no idea what's coming.
Right. So I don't want people to get the thought that this is some sort of athletic challenge podcast. There will be athletic challenges, but I think there are other challenges in life that need to be pursued. I think you would agree, Dustin.
Yes.
Life is not about running. Life is not about being sexy when you're naked, necessarily. It's not about that.
Right. We want a holistic outlook on the activities available throughout the lifespan. So we're gonna tap into each, creative force that might be out there, any curiosity, any endeavor.
Right.
And we're gonna
So-
try and give you a little potpourri.
I'm looking at the weather this week. I've got the challenge. It's weather dependent. But this week's challenge, do it or else, cry in the rain.
Oh man.
You've got to find a time when it's raining outside and go out there and cry.
And I can cry about anything I want.
You can cry about anything as long as I think you need to have a tear come down. Tears in rain.
Okay.
That's the name of the challenge. Tears in rain.
Tears in rain. Tears
Yeah,
in the rain. Tears in
Because
the
I
rain.
think it's important to cry. I think it's an important part of life. I've remembered crying in the rain in the past at some point in my life. I think it's going to be emotional. I think it's going to be good. I think it could be cool. It might be terrible.
Yeah. I'm ready for this challenge and I accept it.
Perfect.
I will do it or else.
Do it or else. Me too.
Do it or else. So, everybody, thanks for listening to Do It or Else podcast. I'm Dustin. That's my lovely co-host, Ryan. Come by next week and give us a listen when we talk about our experiences of crying in the rain.
Crying in the rain.
We're gonna do it in the rain.
Make sure to check us out. We'll post little pictures and updates of all these things. I've got a couple sweaty pictures of myself after my run on our Instagram page. What is that, Dustin?
At Do It or Else Pod. So
All
that's
one
on
word.
Instagram. Yeah, all one word. Do It or Else Pod. We're on Twitter. Do It or Else Pod. And you can follow us along there if you got suggestions for future challenges. We'd love to hear some. And if we like it, we'll do it. And we'll record it, and we'll give you a shout out, and maybe we'll bring you on the show, get your experience on it too.
Thanks so much for listening. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Love ya.